pharmaceutical scientists, the different roles in academia and pharmaceutical industry. Before we start today, I would like to introduce myself. So my name is Alison Williams. I'm the chairperson of pharmacy education at IPSF, and I will be having this session today with Ms. Rinka, the Pharmaceutical Science Initiative Coordinator, and with our two speakers who are ready to educate us and enlighten us on these different roles. First of all, I would like to let you know what IPSF stands for and who we represent and what we do. So IPSF is the International Pharmaceutical Students Federation, and it's the leading international advocacy organization for all pharmaceutical students and recent graduates up to 4 years. And in IPSF, we aim to promote improved public health through the provision of information, education, as you can see here in pharmaceutical sciences and pharmacy practices, and networking with a range of publications and professional initiatives. So you are in the right place today to learn about this topic, and I would like to let you know that please keep your microphones mute at all times to prevent interference and disturbance during this presentation. And this particular webinar is brought to you courtesy of the Pharmacy Education portfolio of IPSF, and we do a range of initiatives like advocating for better pharmacy education with the FIP education session. The FIP is the International Pharmaceutical Federation. We also offer internships for our members. We host webinars, as you can see one today. We also have different research initiatives, which you can find all the details in the Young Researchers Forum, and you can be a member of this forum as a pharmacy student and as a pharmaceutical science student. We also have different initiatives in pharmaceutical sciences and pharmacy practices. We encourage our members to develop their research skills through having posters at our events and congresses. And we also have a range of publications to improve your writing skills. So much being said about this, you are in the right place today at this right time, and I'm sure you're going to learn a lot on this topic. Please feel free to chat on the chat box to introduce yourselves, and I'll be introducing Ms. Rinka now to moderate the session and continue. Rinka, the floor is yours.
Unmuted.
Hello, everyone. I'm Zrinka Duvnyak, a Pharmaceutical Sciences Initiative Coordinator in this mandate, and I was so glad to see a huge number of registration for this webinar. For all those who couldn't join us today, we will be recording this session, and it will be available on YouTube soon. First of all, I would like to thank our speakers for accepting our invitation to join us today. But before we start, I would like to give you just a few words about our projects. This is our second science-related webinar. The first one was held in December with the topic The World of Science, Everything You Need to Know, where we mainly talked about articles, publishing, PhD, and similar. If you are interested in listening to it, you can find the link on our social website. Next, we are doing one research project too. As pharmacy students originating from different countries and cultures, we all have different opportunities to grow academically and professionally, but in the end, we could all apply for the same science-related job after graduating. The aim of this research is to determine opportunities for us, students in different countries, which could help us to build our professional careers and to examine our level of involvement in scientific projects and reasons for being or not being involved. Many of you have already got my email with a link to the survey. If you haven't got it yet, you will by tomorrow, and I would kindly like to ask you to take a moment to fill it out and help us to have accurate conclusions. And lastly, this year we put out a new project, Science Buddy, because IPSF has a global network of members, and there is probably someone who is working on a similar topic as you. This project aims to connect those students so they could share ideas, help each other, and maybe visit each other's lab. The first call for this project is closed, but you can still write a topic of your research to Young Researchers Forum. We are screening your responses all the time, and if we notice somebody with a similar topic as you, you will be notified. And if you have any additional questions about any of our projects, don't hesitate to contact me. You have email on the slide. All the time during the webinar, you will have an opportunity to anonymously ask the questions using Slido. You just need to type it into Google, and after opening the website, enter the event code SCIENCE, or just click on the link you got in the email. I will read your questions after both of the lectures for both speakers. On the last slide, you will again see this link for getting the certificate. And to get it, you just need to fill out the evaluation form. And now, when you have all the information, we can start. At the front of academia is our first speaker, Tawfiq Rahman, a group leader at one of the best universities in the world, the University of Cambridge. Tawfiq, the floor is yours. Just give us a few seconds.
All right. Now, give me 1 second just to make sure that I am on my. What is happening? Okay. First of all, I'd like to express my thanks to Alison and Zrinka and IPFS in general to give me an opportunity to give a small presentation on how I'm finding career and overall how I'm finding being in the academia as a someone originating from a pharmaceutical science background. So firstly, I hope wherever you are in various parts of the world, you are all safe, your families are well, and quite importantly, you are kind of carefully avoiding all these miracles that have evolved in recent time. I hope we do have a miraculous cure of the problem we're going through, but hopefully something will come up. So the topic I'm supposed to give some presentation today is about how the pharmaceutical scientist in an academic setting and how things can be run in that kind of environment. So it's definitely not a TED talk on my biography or something, but I guess we all had to begin somewhere. And I would like to have a brief recapitulation of how I originated and how I'm hopefully progressing towards being a homo academic, I call it. So as you can see, I had my bachelor and master's degree in pharmaceutical science many years back, around more than 20 years or something, in a pharmaceutical science faculty in Bangladesh. And then all I always wanted is be in the academia because I love teaching. So soon after finishing my MPharm degree, I had an opportunity to teach in a local university for about a year. But I also felt a little bit inadequate in terms of training, skills, and experience, and all this. So I kept looking for opportunities to get further improvement in my skill set. So I got a chance to come to the UK to pursue a theoretical MSc course in molecular pharmacology. And then I keep moving on, start applied for various programs for doctoral research. Fortunate to come to Cambridge in the Department of Pharmacology. I love pharmacology from the day one, and I was in the pharmacy degree. Pharmacology and medicinal chemistry was my favorite. So I was lucky to be in that kind of broader field. And then after finishing the course, I had some years spent as a postdoc and then as a fellow. And in 2012 was the one then when I started to have my own group. And after that, in 2016, I got this lectureship in the same department where I got my PhD from. And hopefully I'm working towards either being a successful scientist, unless I go back to the reverse evolutionary trajectory and go back to the square one. So the point is, you can see it's a long way, and my connection with the pharmacy dates back a long time ago. And by the time I reach here, although my present research, the work, and a lot of teaching are focused on areas on drug mechanism or drug action, drug development, side effects, and all these, but we do look into the more basic aspect. And a lot of my other colleagues who didn't have prior education in pharmaceutical science in school are doing the same or similar, like biochemists or microbiologists, someone in the pathology department or genetics. So I think it probably would be fairer for me to say that I will be giving some insight, being working in the academia as a scientist, presumably, rather than being a pharmaceutical scientist, because I lack this legitimate claim that I'm not in a pharma industry or directly doing a pharmaceutical science related research to the extent an industry person is doing. So I will try to give an insight from that point of view, how I'm finding as a scientist in the academia, but with the pharmacy education to start with. Right, so after finishing the master's degree in pharmaceutical science, and we all make decisions, big or small, and then there are two parts open. One was industry, one was the academia. The main thing for today's webinar, back to back, I suppose. So the industry, for me, it definitely, or for many others, it comes with this appeal of more money, to be frank. It's a big corporate climate, and then it's a relatively greater job security there. And to me, the most important thing in the industry is it is the only place to be engaged in a serious drug development, product development kind of activity. I mean, you cannot do much in an academic setting. It has to be an industrial setting to do these things properly and get a product to the market, to the doorstep of the patients. On an academic side, definitely from the financial point of view, probably many people think it is a lesser of a glamour there, but I personally, it's very relative on how what you think as an adequate, inadequate. I find it decent enough to run a decent life, and then obviously that there's a lesser, job security involved, at least in the initial stage. But one important aspect I'd like to highlight, that there's a seemingly greater freedom to operate. You are allowed to fail more often since you fail alone, and that's where the greater freedom lies, because people probably wouldn't care much if you fail. And the other thing is, which may not be very appealing to many people, that the fact that you always bring your office to home is often can be 24-hour job. So anyway, the decision I took to go to the left side of the academic path, because I always wanted to teach. So I chose this route. But initial choice was mainly governed by the socioeconomic background as well, because we all used to hear from the senior brothers and sisters who went to this path, like, okay, if you do a pharmacy degree, you get a job straight away. So that was, to be frank, the initial driving force. Anyway, so if I, again, as I said, I never work in the industry, so I definitely cannot give you the proper comparison. But what I think from an outside, there are a lot of similarity in the core activities, which definitely are not hugely different. For example, we have to plan, we have to prepare, we have to collect the resources, which could be personnel and tools and equipments, techniques, and we have to execute according to our plan, day in, day out. By we means both the group leaders and the students. We have to manage ourselves, the family, the projects, the students, the postdocs. Almost, there are a lot of people management involved. We definitely have to have some leadership skills, not to the same level or same scale as in happens in the industry, but definitely things like making decisions, right and wrong, planning ahead, and also importantly, planning together, taking your other members of the group or team into the planning activity so that they feel being an important part of the team, and they have a voice to dictate which way to explore, and keeping or trying my best to keep a happy work space. I personally think is important, because definitely from a grumpy face or grumpy worker or grumpy researcher, you may not have good productivity. You can be in the lab for 24 hours. It doesn't mean you'll have a really good productive hours. Whatever you do, you try to be happy, try to be spontaneous. And in this way, hard work, you cannot feel that you're working hard because you're working with happiness. I try my best, but again, people have different levels of how easily they can be happy and how easily they can be grumpy. And also regularly evaluating our own weakness and how to improve on that kind of sectors. Obviously, there are other core disciplines that for almost every sector, like self-discipline, determination, hard work, and tenacity. So these are all sound like very familiar words spoken by many great people, and it's overused, but it's still very true for anything, including whatever I'm trying to do here, whatever probably I presume what other people in the industry are doing. So in the academia, what you also find as you move up from a student to a postdoctoral researcher to eventually a group leader position, that you turning into gradually a writer and a manager, more of this kind of personality. It has to be like this. For example, most of your writing could be your daily activities involve writing, rewriting, writing grant applications. You need money to run your lab, to buy the reagents and chemicals, to employ postdocs, to offer studentships and all this. You have to write scripts if you have got stories to share with other people and let the world know what you found. And you'll find later on it's very important to keep the job ongoing. You have to also write reports of progress of your students, of your own project, also references requested by ex-students or alumni, reports of attending meeting, conferences, or attending somebody else's presentation. You need to take, it's a lot of writing involved. I guess it's probably not very different from some aspects of industry as well. And also considerable time is spent in managing people and project, which is understandable, because if you lead a lab, you lead a group of people, and you have people needs to be managed. I need to be managed as a group leader. So in the hierarchical scheme, there may be someone managing me, but the good thing about, not good thing, the unique thing about the academia is you don't have a direct line manager. You are accountable at the end of the day to your head of the department, but that is kind of more relaxed way. The downside is there are many eyes looking at you and observing what you do and how you're doing. Okay, so apart from the fact that a PI, a project investigator or project leader in an academic setting may gradually turn into a writer and a manager, for some people, they still cannot forget the old habit. For example, some like myself, we try our best still to remain actively involved in doing bench work, doing experiments, besides my students, their students. This doesn't happen very often, but there are people I've seen among my colleagues, among many of my friends that I know, They still would love to go back to the bench, not to the extent they would love to, but whenever they get a chance. And sometimes this tendency to get involved in doing real experiments with your students and postdoc is the fact that people miss it. People miss those days when they were active doctoral students or postdoc, doing excitement, feeling the joy of finding something working. Obviously not missing much about the frustration, but there is a eureka moment that people would like to embrace whenever they can. So I call it like a leftover passion, maybe, to actually doing hand-on real experimental work. For many others, including people like me, this need to do something alongside your student could be also due to the fact there's a real need. For example, you may not have enough senior member in your group who can assist your other junior students in their day-in-day work project. And also there are some in an early stage when you are at the beginning of your independent career as an academic scientist, you would like to try something before you actually pass it to your student. You need to do some sort of initial proof of the principle testing so that you know what you're passing to your students, so that they are not at any kind of jeopardy or any kind of risk of finding or starting or working with something that is a dead end. At least that's how I think from my end. But the thing is, I'm not sure to what extent my student in those labs where the group leader from time to time also spend time with them in doing experiment, how the students actually find it. I mean, I remember when I was a student, we definitely didn't want our professor to come and work with us. We would have been really frozen. So this is something I need to bear in my mind as well, like not to create an environment where my student cannot work freely. So there has to be some sort of balance. Yeah. So like in the industry, I suppose that whatever we are doing as a group leader, I mean, our performance are also evaluated or assessed, but there may be a difference there, how it is assessed. So there's the freedom to operate, I say, because we can do whatever we want to do as long as it's related to our research. We cannot do whatever we want to do in case of teaching. We have to stick to certain guidelines, and what we teach is assigned to us. And we have to follow the university's guideline, the policy. Also, the Cambridge Uni is a collegiate university, so there are a lot of college-related issues as well. So teaching and research is more like a free. Teaching is more within the constraint of existing norm. But obviously, there is no license to be wacky or really crazy in doing whatever you're doing. So you have to do something good, and you have to prove that you are doing that. So the typical parameters of judging how well somebody may be doing in the academia, as I can see, is definitely one of the very common metric is the productivity or research output. In other words, having paper published, having talks given or delivered in various conferences, chairing sessions, and if you're a very big scientist, very successful one, and you are involved in translational research, you may also have patents of your work as well. So these are all research outputs. Your success in getting grants is also very desired from the university point of view, because not only you need grants to run your own group, but also a portion of your grant is also gone into the running the department, the logistics, the other admin stuff to get the utility bills paid and all these. So that's why it's very important that we get these grants. And how well you teach, again, teaching to some extent, it can be an art, and not everybody is a good teacher. So people know that. So the pragmatic or practical expectation is that as long as you do a not so bad job and there is no serious complaint about your teaching, then it's fine. And how well you supervise your graduate student, students who are doing PhD or MPhil in a group. Is there any complaint from their end, and whether those complaints are valid or not? And also how you contribute to help your department, your faculty, your university run smoothly day in, day out. And that means you have to be involved in various kind of admin task, being in a part of various committees, admission, interviewing other students, and being various safety committee, all kind of, there are various committees you have to be part with and contribute. And also, additionally, when you tick all the other boxes, what you do for the wider community, for example, people can be involved. I was involved in the past to be in the wider participation, running some scheme or sheltering students from the pre-university A-level class who are underrepresented in the science and technology and these kind of schemes. I've been also involved in sort of journal as an associate editor, but again, it's not all about how big or whatever I've done. I'm just giving a flavor of there are various other things that are not directly related to your job, but these are highly appreciated that you do that. Okay, so you can see it's rather a long list of things. And the productivity, the publications, the pressure has been very intense. You can see in this cartoon that nicely depicts that how the pressure has been, mounting on and on and on. Initially, it was publish and perish, publish in high impact journals afterwards, and these days publish frequently in the high impact journals like Nature, Cell Science, and all these, which is definitely not a very trivial undertaking and which may not be possible. Of course, the way I look at it, again, I'm not generalizing, but that's my own personal viewpoint. I can see some sort of circle going on, and it's kind of relevant for many, but not for all of the academics. It's, for example, if you have more publications and if your research is trendy, meaning what is in that trend, what is talk of the time, and also you're visible in the space, meaning a lot of people know you, people in the field, people outside in the field, and also you have active publicity propaganda as well. You some way you make yourself visible. I'm not saying these are bad, but all this contribute to many extent to get more funding or more luck in getting funding. And if you get more funding, you can recruit more people, you can have more machines in your lab, more resources, which may lead to, again, it's not guaranteed, but which is quite likely to lead to more, output of your research. Again, the cycle goes on. On the other hand, there's nothing wrong in this circle as long as we are aware that there can be a negative side of things as well. I mean, I'll come back to this in the next few slides, what I mean by this. So for some people, this publication pressure becomes too huge to cope with. And this especially can happen at the earliest stage of your independent career. When you start your own lab, normally you start with you only in a room and nothing in it. You have to build things from scratch, a pH meter, a balance, test tube racks and everything, get grants, apply for funding, get people, and you gradually build up. But then the demand from you to publish doesn't stop from the, it is still going on from the day one. So many people, including, me initially, it wasn't easy. And a lot of people actually succumb to this pressure. And I'm not kidding. There have been cases in few years back. A toxicologist in Imperial College, apparently he died out of heart attack because the university imposed a grant success deadline on him. That was an alleged claim against the uni. And also on the same year, there was a phytochemist, a pharmacognosy expert. He also died again with suspected trauma of losing his job because there was a restructuring going on. So I'm not painting a negative picture of everything. All I wanted to say that the pressure can be sometimes too much to cope with. But another real challenge is you can be very productive. You can keep publishing a lot of papers, but how to do it without losing the quality, without compromising the quality and the ethics side of things. I mean, it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. And for many, I'm not saying that people can't do it, but there are many people who can do it. But most of the cases, it won't be easy. In the 19th century, as you can see in this cartoon, the main query probably was to find the fact, to reveal the mysteries of nature. But to us, in many cases, again, I'm not generalizing. I'm not saying all of us are like that. We are under selection pressure to evolve with something so that our ways of looking at things may be unknowingly changing, which can be frustrating, which we shouldn't be that well. But again, I'm not generalizing, but we have to be watchful that this kind of opposite self is not taken over and it doesn't compromise good science. Well, I would like to remind myself and all of us that echoing the famous quotation of Wolfgang Pauli, that we have to make sure that we don't publish faster than we think. So we just have to be responsible of whatever we're doing. Okay, so I'll just try to quicken my last few slides so that I don't consume all the time. So is there any benefit that I receive for being my initial studies in pharmaceutical science to shape up my whatever I am at this stage of now? My answer will be yes, but also there was challenges as well, and funny enough, the challenge and the benefit both come from the same point. In some 20 years back when I studied pharmacy, I think we were definitely it wasn't very up-to-date curriculum and all these, and science and technology has evolved a lot, and you guys are much more smarter and much more up-to-date on these. What I felt that the pharma science was offering me a good blend of various different topics, so that they all together can help us focus on developing or dealing with good drugs, managing good drugs, health, maintaining the safety and toxicity profile. So we used to be like a jack of all trades, but master of none. But as far as research degree is concerned, this jack of all tradeness was not very easy to sell, because whenever you need to go for a research degree, people want to see what skill you are coming up with, and then having theoretical knowledge in many topics, but not much practical knowledge in at least one or two. It's not easy. But I'm sure that things are changing, and also I would like to remind you that I'm speaking of time when there wasn't much internet, the world was not much open, so the things have definitely much changed now. But after working in the academia and working in the basic science, now with my own group started, I'm again trying to capitalize on the same issue that I had the opportunity of having some idea of different related topics like microbiology, like natural product chemistry, organic chemistry, med chem, and all this physiology and all this. I probably feel in a comfortable position to look at a drug molecule, to talk about drug molecule, to teach about drug molecule, to do some research around finding some new molecules. So I personally think that it helped me. It's helping me immensely. Definitely, it had helped me in the past, but there was some challenges for good reasons. So just to quicken the few slides, is as you can see, I tried to give a schematic that how all this giving blue, red, cyan, and green dots. The gist is obviously with time the red dots, the failure increases, but I also kept the blue and the cyan dots parallelly increase as well, meaning that you just keep continuing and try your best, give your best, and if you cannot run, if you cannot walk, you can definitely crawl. Anyway, any advice from my end? I don't regard myself to be the best for giving an advice. Nevertheless, few things I would like to say. Seek to find what you are or can be good at. It's not easy to find that information. For some people who are lucky, they really know it from the day one, what they are good at. Some can take some time. And also what appeals to you, and then plan realistically, meaning what can you do given your context and situation, and work accordingly. And for those who are not even sure whether to go through the research route, again, research doesn't mean it's an academic research in the academic setting. It could be research in the pharma industry. An intermediary MSc or MPhil or MRes degree by research could be a good one to consider, so that if you don't like it, no harm done. If you like it, then you're moving on to the particular direction. And as I said, you don't have to be in academia to do research. Industries are great in R&Ds. And more importantly, the city, for example, in places where there are pharma and academic institutions, like as in Cambridge, there are a lot of collaboration in between. And then whoever working in the uni or whoever working in the industry, they don't miss the other world, because there's a lot of exchange happening day in, day out. So you don't have to feel missing out anything. Anyway, thank you all, including the IPSF, and I'm happy to pick up any questions. Stay well and stay safe. Many thanks.
Thank you, Taufik, for this great and interesting lecture. We have some questions for you waiting, but first we will proceed with our second speaker, Marietta Duvnjak-Romic. Marietta is working at Novartis Pharma as a project leader in Basel, Switzerland, in a Silicon Valley of pharmacy at one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies. Marietta, you have a word.
Hello, sorry, I've been mute. Sorry for that. So thanks for the introduction and also for the invite to be with you today. The sad truth is that the pharmaceutical industry is the most regulated industry in the world, and in accordance to that, my presentation will not be as fun as the one that we just saw, but I hope that you will still find it interesting. So as you can imagine, after you graduate, you have several opportunities which you probably know. Just please let me check how to advance with my slides. Okay, so we are here. As a pharmacist or a pharmaceutical scientist, you can of course work in community or clinical pharmacy. As we just heard, you can conduct your career within the academic research, and you can also work in industry. Here we are primarily talking about pharmaceutical industry, but you can also work in food and cosmetic industry. To give you an overview on the different opportunities that are available within the pharmaceutical industry, we basically need to cover the whole research and development process and in general the drug product life cycle. We start with drug research, where you have several thousands of molecules, potential new drugs. You choose some of them with the most promising results to advance to preclinical phase, hopefully later a different stage of human trials, registration, and finally market and post-market activities. As a pharmacist and pharmaceutical scientist, you can work basically in any of those stages, but also as it was mentioned before, and you will see in the following slides, here it's important that being a pharmaceutical scientist or scientist does mean a difference, and also the same issue that was reflected about the challenges and benefits and being a master of none as a pharmaceutical scientist lay the same way in the industry as well. You will now see how. Overall, as a pharmaceutical scientist, you can basically get a job in pharmaceutical industry in many different positions. It's impossible to cover all of them, but I will briefly touch 5 main areas, which are research, so you can work as a biomedical researcher, then development, and about those 2 I will give you a bit more details because they are related, let's say, to lab activities. Then you can work as a clinical researcher in the area of regulatory affairs, pharmacoeconomics, etc., but let's say those are the 5 big areas for pharmaceutical scientists. And so in industry, as same as is in academia, the whole development of new drug starts with a quest for molecule. Depending on the disease you are interested to find a drug, you first need to discover what is your target. So what is the biomolecule you want to influence the disease? Once you discover that target, you need to verify it, and after that, you start with in silico and in vitro drug research for potential molecules that can bind to your target. Once you again have that, you perform several types of cell assays to verify whether your molecule is binding or not. Based on results, you select several best candidates, which can further advance to preclinical studies, so to animal trials. Overall, this would be a short summary of the research part in the pharmaceutical industry. And now we are coming to the topic, what does the pharmaceutical scientist do here? As a biomedical researcher, you of course cannot cover all these aspects. So you can specialize in one small part of the whole process, and based on what part you choose to specialize in, there are different skills and knowledge that is required for the role. Among others, let's say maybe most significant are molecular biology, medicinal chemistry, pharmacokinetics, pharmacology, toxicology, translational medicine, biophysics, etc., etc. So once you finish your studies and you start working somewhere, you do have a good background, especially as a pharmaceutical scientist, because you have a good overview. However, to really become a good scientist, a good researcher, you need to advance and get more knowledge and more expertise in some specific area of your interest. Okay, now coming back to the whole process. We covered the research part, and you have now a molecule in your animal studies, and it seems promising. However, what you need to be aware that not every molecule can be a medicine. And here now we are starting with development phase, and in development phase, you can work as development scientist. Again, here there are many different areas where you can specialize in. One of them is drug substance. So at this phase, we call a molecule, the selected molecule, a drug substance. So first thing is the synthesis, because in research phase you are working on microgram or milligram scale, and when we come to development, especially if you need to supply clinical trials at the end, you may need to have several hundreds of kilograms of substance. To do this scale up, you really need to develop a new process with high yield, exclude all the toxic solvents, catalysts, reduce number of synthesis steps. So organic chemistry is here very important. Besides that, you can study physicochemical properties of your drug substance. For example, if you have orally administered drug, a tablet, and your drug substance has a low solubility, it can be the best molecule in the world. However, if the drug substance is not dissolved within the gastrointestinal tract after administration, it will not be absorbed and it will not reach the systemic circulation. So here the choose and the different types of polymorphic forms or salts are extremely important. Of course, you need to check what is the stability of your drug substance. Does it degrade? Does it form some mutagenic or genotoxic impurities, and so on and so on. And also in parallel to that, in addition to these drug substance activities, you start the drug product development, so formulation work. If we again come back to our low soluble drug substance, you need to assess if it's possible to change the formulation to add some solubilizer, which would allow your drug substance to dissolve within the gastrointestinal tract, and then again you have the perfect molecule. Hand in hand with drug product development goes the drug product characterization, because for all formulation variants you have, you need to assess their characteristics. For example, what is the kinetics of dissolution of drug substance from your tablet? Then the next step is to assess the stability. So you need to be able to give your shelf life for your drug product, because it takes some time from manufacturing through packaging, through transport, customs, transfer to pharmacy, till the day your drug will actually reach the patient. And you need to ensure that everything, the quality you had at day one, will stay the same at the day your drug is in hands of patients. Then, of course, here we have the process optimization for formulation preparation. We have a supply to animal and human studies. And if all the results are good, development scientists also prepare registration documentation because the data that were generated during development phase will end up in registration trial. Now, as development is really long and wide in the overall process, so is the list basically of skills and knowledges required for development scientists. And here we have different types of chemistry, so medicinal, solid state, physical, analytical, and biochemistry, as well as pharmaceutical technology, engineering, pharmacokinetics, drug delivery. One important thing that is different in industry compared to academia are GXPs, and they are here really important to mention. So GXPs are guidelines issued by health authorities, and the main purpose is to ensure quality. Because the patient safety is our primary goal, so we need to have under control all the work in the lab, during manufacturing, during clinical studies. So in case there is some results, some data that are unexpected or adverse event, that we can trace back what was different and to find a root cause for unexpected data. Just to give you a short example, GLP, good laboratory practice, you want to prepare a buffer. You need to write everything in your lab notebook. You need to write the procedure you are following, the date, with the non-erasable pen, so that the change of your data is not possible. When you want to use the balance, you need to be trained for the usage of different equipment. You need to ensure that the balance is qualified, that is calibrated for the range you are measuring, and so on and so on. Also, not to scare you, if you are a lab scientist preparing the buffer, you don't need to spend 1 hour prior to weighing to check if everything is fine. You do have different procedures and person who takes control of that. However, you are responsible to check if everything is fine. And this is important because whatever we are doing, whatever data we are generating, will have an impact on the final product and on our patients. So we need to keep that in mind all the time. Okay, now let's say we also covered development phase, and there are 3 other aspects of working in pharmaceutical industry that I just wanted to briefly touch. So you can work also as a clinical research associate, where you will be dealing with the results of clinical studies, so adverse effects, drug-to-drug interaction, bioavailability. Also, you can specialize in regulatory affairs area, where you will take the lead on preparation of documentation, communication, and discussions with health authorities. And also, of course, there is a pharmacoeconomic aspect, where you can explore market needs, opportunities, therapies costs, patient management, and so on. With that, I would also like to give you a little bit of my personal perspective. So I'm working with industry now for 8 years. And prior to that, I was shortly working in academia as well. So I felt I tried both sides. There are many similar things as it was emphasized also in the past. But what I like to say is that we are working on applied science, because as it was mentioned at the beginning, we are really taking the drugs to the market. And when working in academia, you are not in a position to do that. And the feeling is great when you really have the real purpose and the real impact on what are you doing. As you could see, we are covering basically many aspects. And to resolve all the issues and all the steps that are in front of us, we need to work in interdisciplinary teams. Which include people with different expertise and also people coming from different cultures. So this is very nice because you literally learn something new every day. And also you learn and improve yourself as a person through the contact with other people and other cultures. So this is really beautiful in this job. And also maybe to reflect on what was mentioned in the previous presentation, in industry, you are not allowed to fail. Yeah, we are failing a lot. However, what is different in academia is that when you are failing, you are not failing alone, because we are always working as a team. And maybe this is also the reason why we are not failing as often as you are in academia when you are just one lab. Here we are basically having the communication and collaboration of many different sub-teams, and we all have the same goal, to have a new drug. And because of that, we are really working as a team. We are a team. We are not just called officially a team. And this is the way how we are dealing with challenges and how we manage to overcome all the hurdles. But also when you have that kind of team, you have a lots of fun, and that's the fact. And maybe what I would use for a last thought is something that I started with as well. So the fact is that with working in pharmaceutical industry, we have a lot of science. We also have some projects which are purely scientific projects that are not related to our regular portfolio. We are mentoring the postdocs and PhD students, the interns, so we do still have this liberty part as well. But also when you work for several years on one project, even if it's a small puzzle like making a buffer, at some point that drug reaches the market, and then you know directly or indirectly that you really changed someone's life. And this is a really powerful and motivating note in this whole world. And this is really very nice, because not so many people have this opportunity. And with that, I am finishing with my presentation. In case you are interested in working in industry and what opportunities are here, I provided 2 links. On first, you can find positions for undergraduate and postgraduate students. And on the second one, you can find the currently open permanent positions in Novartis worldwide. So that's it from my side, and thank you very much for your attention. And also, I'm happy to answer your questions if.
Thank you, Marietta, for this great, informative, and interesting lecture. We have a few questions both for you and Taufik, so now we can proceed with that. Actually, we have a lot of questions, and I think we won't have enough time to answer all of them. But I hope this will be enough. And of course, if all of you have any additional questions, you always can contact our speakers. So first, one question for Taufik. One of our members noticed that University of Cambridge has a few split programs with AstraZeneca, and he would like to know, would you recommend this?
Yeah, of course, because this, I have one of the students joined, funded by the AstraZeneca. It's great, as these, Marta was speaking, that the day in, day out, the industry have their academic outreach as well. And in small town like Cambridge, where you have a big company like Astra is suddenly coming in, they are also getting involved in various aspects. So across various departments, there are AstraZeneca funded scheme for the PhD students. And in some cases, as also the other speakers say, there are postdoctoral research opportunities as well. Of course, why not? I mean, this is the dream case. This should be a dream case scenario for people who care for making medicine or being a part of that process.
Thank you. Again, one question for you. Do you have a bigger salary if you publish more?
It's really it's an amusing question, to be honest. Not necessarily. We all follow a certain kind of pay scale. And then, yeah, of course, good publication will help you towards having your promotions happening at regular interval, and you scale up in your pay scale set by the university. But that's it. If you have a paper in Nature, yes, tomorrow, you can't expect that the next month you get a big, incentive to your salary. It doesn't work like this. Indirectly, it can help, but very indirectly, very, very indirectly.
Thank you again. Now one question for Marietta. Where is the place of data science in pharmaceutical industry?
Oh, this is really interesting and emerging area. So data and digital is a big thing in pharmaceutical industry right now. As you can imagine, we are performing many experiments. We are generating many data, to be concrete, Novartis now has a huge collaboration with IT industry to really assess the data that we are generating in a completely new way. So we have a lot of data and we are not using it properly. And let's say the main intention is to really put everything that we have in one place, analyze it, and try to see what we can learn from the data that was generated in the past. So let's say we are working on oral dosage forms, and we are working on oral dosage forms for 20 years now. Some products reached the market, most of them did not, but we spent some time generating different formulations and also for disease areas and different molecules. Can we list all the characteristics and all the, let's say, ingredients that we put inside and learn something new? For example, when we get the new molecule in the development based on the learnings and its physical-chemical properties, what formulation composition can work for that molecule. So not to perform the try and error experiments, but really to use the data generated in the past to give us a solution for the future. So this is only one aspect. The huge talk about it is also in clinical data, how we can evaluate our clinical data better than we are doing now, how we can design clinical studies better. So data science is involved in every aspect of pharmaceutical industry currently.
Thank you. And one more additional question regarding this. So is this a job for pharmaceutical scientists? So could somebody from a pharmaceutical background do this, or you need to be an IT expert?
So we are again coming to the fact that we are master of none. Yes, that can do someone with a pharmaceutical background. but that person needs to have interest in IT, in data science, and if it's willing to learn, to specialize, to deepen its knowledge, yes, a pharmaceutical background can do that. But not only pharmaceutical background, of course.
Again, one question for you. Is it difficult for a student who did not research in university to enter the industrial world?
I'm not sure if I understand the question. So how I understood it is, if you during your studies did not do any research project, if this was the intention of the question, no, this is not a hurdle, because when you come freshly from university, it is expected that you have some basic knowledge. But during your work, you will specialize in some area, and it is not realistic to expect that you have that knowledge at the beginning, no matter if you did something special during university, during your studies or not. So this is not a prerequisite.
Thank you. Now one question for Taufik again. Could you tell us more about the money you have for your research, how you get it, how often is it difficult to get it?
Oh, many thanks. I wish I could clarify or touch upon this aspect in my presentation. I couldn't. Yeah, we do apply various funding bodies. Some of the funding bodies are governmental or central. For example, the UK Research Councils. We have the Biological Sciences Research Councils, the Medical Science Research Councils, the Wellcome Trust. But some of them are like independent charities as well. Again, Wellcome Trust is a kind of independent charity, but there is also Royal Society. There are also many medical charities as well. Some of them are UK based, some are European, and some are global. So to summarize, there are governmental sources. There are non-governmental independent sources as well. Yeah, and also it's getting progressively more and more difficult as the global economics condition is probably not the best. It hasn't been much well in the last several years, and I suspect with this pandemic issue, we all have to go through even worse hardship in the coming days. And it's never easy, even in good time. It just is hugely competitive, hugely competitive. But that's the nature of the game. You can't complain about it.
Thank you, Taufik. One technical question for Marietta. One more last question for you. How many hours per week do you work?
Officially or non-officially? So it really depends. It depends on which stage of the project we are. If we are reaching some important milestone, then of course you want to finish things up and everything. And also officially, we are working in Switzerland 40 hours per week, but also this depends on the country and the country regulations. But let's say what I found beautiful in working with Novartis is when we are having an over hours, they are also being counted. And once you reach stage of the project where you can maybe work less than 40 hours per week, you have these over hours and that you can exchange. So I would say yes, I am working more than 40 hours per week, but also all the over hours that I collect, they are counted. My management is aware, and there is a way how I can refund them back.
Thank you. I hope you found this webinar useful. I would like to thank our speakers one more time again for giving us their perspective, helping us decide what is the right choice for us, and giving us the information which we don't get at our faculties. For all those who want a certificate for attending this session, you need to fill out the form on the link on the slide. And thank you, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you one more time.
Yeah, thank you for the invite. Take care and stay safe, everyone.
Yeah, thank you as well. Stay well.